Around 2006, the newly created YouTube was still quite young for video sharing and reposting old episodes of popular and nostalgic kids shows. Of course, that didn't stop people from doing mysterious and questionable things that would leave others alone with their thoughts. Anyways, I will get to the point. So, I was feeling nostalgic for a show I used to watch a lot on PBS Kids when I was little. That show was Thomas and Friends, the show about talking engines doing work on the island of Sodor. I was bored one day and just scrolled through a list of videos about Thomas I could watch. I clicked on an episode I recognized from when I was a kid. It was an episode where James worried about a balloon taking the engine's job of transportation away from them, only for him to realize that it was nothing to worry about since it didn't jeopardize their work. You can rip on me for not saying the specific name of the episode, but I paid little attention to what it was called nor did I care about it. The episode wasn't a favorite of mine anyways. Plus, the video quality for each Thomas episode I found was either bad, or it had a small video box and pitched down audio to prevent copyright. I resorted to scrolling through the comments to see what they had to say. Most of them I read seemed to be written by kids under the age of 10. I was about to give up and find another reposted episode to watch, until I came across something that caught my eye. There, an isolated looking comment from everything else. It was a link to a website along with a short sentence message about it. The comment read, "How would anyone like to watch some episodes of your favorite Blue Engine? Just click here and get the best quality videos you have ever seen. You don't need to spend a penny on it." A website with high quality Thomas episodes for free? Now, if that wasn't suspicious at all, then I don't know what is. And me being a gullible 19-year-old youth, I stupidly clicked on it without a second thought. Though I should know better than to open a random link by a random weirdo online. Well, it turns out he wasn't lying at all. The website in question had tons of episodes that, for some reason, only had the first 6 seasons of Thomas and Friends. And most of the videos were indeed high quality. The only exception being that the videos had low brightness and the contrast of the videos looked like it was cranked to 11. I also had to download an ad blocker. But ignoring that, it was surprisingly well made for a website that seemed to be frozen in time. The question was, why were only the first 6 seasons available? What about the 7th one? I checked the website's about page and the date it was last updated was exactly October 11th, 2002. What made it even more off-putting was that the site described Thomas as a completed series, and the conclusion to the well-loved franchise. If you are somehow not aware of why this is strange, Thomas was never finished. It had a 7th season and a CGI incarnation. It didn't get cancelled at all. I mean, sure, the website was outdated and I wasn't expecting anything too much from it. However, I was wondering one thing. What made the creator of the website claim that the show was completed to begin with? Was the show meant to end on the 6th season? What happened around that time that pulled the show from airing? Just question after question. I needed to find out why. I clicked on the 6th and last season on the page and scrolled all the way down to the bottom. Eventually, it stopped at the very bottom of the page, and the last episode that appeared there was called Thomas and the Jet Engine. Another episode I vividly remember from my childhood, though I don't remember exactly what happened in this episode to begin with. I figured I would click on it and see what the website's creator was talking about. I clicked on the video page and got up from my seat to grab a small snack from the fridge while the video was up and ready to go. I was nearly halfway to the kitchen when I was caught off guard and startled by the opening theme song playing throughout my house. And it was unnecessarily loud too. So loud in fact that if you were outside the house then you would hear it loudly echo. I beelined to my room and paused the video before collapsing into my chair and breathing a sigh of relief. Forget the snack, I wasn't feeling like eating after that. Now, how did the video just play all by itself? Regardless, I made sure to turn down the audio on my computer, which I found out was the reason behind it, and skipped over to the part where the episode began. I didn't feel like watching the intro as I have seen it 100 times before. The episode began with Gordon, the big blue tender engine, running down the line with his express coaches behind him, with the narrator explaining how fast Gordon was and how he was proud of it. Now again, the episodes had low brightness and high contrast to them, but there was something else that I saw within the episode. It's barely noticeable, but the video was a bit grainy. It kind of defeats the purpose of the episodes being high quality, but it's better than what I am finding on YouTube. The scene transitions to Knapford Station, and the engines were all there. They seemed to be annoyed by Gordon's arrival, all except Percy, who had a cheerful expression on his face. Gordon then spoke up. "I am the fastest," as the narrator, voiced by Alec Baldwin, replies. But not all the engines were impressed. It then showed James and Edward both annoyed as James replied to Gordon, "Speed isn't everything," followed by Edward saying, "But being reliable and useful is." Gordon didn't take those comments kindly, but he still remained boastful. "You slow engines will never understand, because you will never go as fast as me." The narrator then explained that Sir Topham had walked up to the engines to announce a huge surprise. "Hello everyone," Sir Topham began as the engines looked at him. "I need an engine to head over to Brandham Docks to collect a jet engine and take it to the airfield." It then showed the engines astonished with such a special job, which I should bring up is a common thing in the show that the engines all enjoy. However, Thomas was still annoyed. It wasn't about the surprise, but it was still about Gordon's boasting. He looked down at his buffers and spoke quietly. "I wish I was just as fast as Gordon so I could prove him wrong." Duck seemed to notice Thomas's comment and replied to him. "What if you took the jet engine to the airfield? That way you can go as fast as him and maybe break his record." Thomas looked back down at his buffers and thought to himself for a bit. Then he spoke up to Topham. "I will take the jet engine to the airfields." The controller looked at Thomas and just smiled. "Very well," he replied. "I shall be sending you there to pick it up. Don't rush now." Then, just like that, Thomas puffed out of the station and rolled along the tracks down to Brandham Docks. Thomas was shown to be puffing along the tracks, driving past 2 stations before veering onto a smaller line, presumably leading to the docks. Upon Thomas's arrival, Cranky was already in the process of unloading the jet engine. The appearance of that jet engine caught my attention though. Although I couldn't recall its exact details from childhood memories, there was something distinctly off about it. It seemed slightly longer than I remembered, but I couldn't be certain if it was just my perception playing tricks on me. Thomas then coupled up to the jet engine and was being extremely impatient, which bothered Cranky the Crane a lot. "Hurry up," Thomas said to Cranky. "This is a special job and I can't miss out on it." Next came the moment where things got real. By pure accident, Cranky knocked the switch on, sending Thomas hurtling down the tracks with incredible speed. unable to stop. Thomas was starting to freak out, but soon came to the realization that this was the wish he asked for. Zooming past numerous stations, he caught glimpses of familiar faces. James, Henry, Percy, Duck, and even Birdie the bus. Meanwhile, Gordon proudly pulled the express, proclaiming himself as the fastest, as it shows Thomas catching up to Gordon and passing him, flying into the tunnel with both the engines emerging from the other side. Gordon was surprised to see Thomas, out of all engines, overtaking him. To Thomas's shock, and mine, that would shortly end. Titmoth Station was shown as Edward was shunting a goods train in a siding filled with petrol, as the narrator explains. Edward then reversed out of the siding and stopped at the platform. My eyes were already widening as I already knew what was about to happen, yet it kept me at the edge of my seat. Thomas was then shown rounding the bend as he saw Edward on the same line, as both of them were panicking, as he grew closer and closer. The narration had stopped around this time, and it made me even more worried about what was about to happen. Before I could think about it, Thomas veered into the siding, and the sound of screaming could be heard. That screaming coming from the narrator. But the way it sounded was genuinely unnerving to listen to. Thomas flew into the tankers, which exploded on impact, and started to twist and shatter the tankers like glass. It wasn't edited in, it was an actual fire that erupted from the tankers. Edward reversed as he watched Thomas fly into the station and knock over the wooden people on the platform. They, along with the station, were now set on fire because of Thomas. The glass roof on the station somehow remained intact, though I can see it was cracked all over and on the verge of breaking. Gordon then rushed into view and slammed on the brakes, just nearly inches away from the catastrophe in front of him. He looked horrified at the aftermath and started to sob, as the shot panned at Thomas's battered up and really mutilated looking face. For a guy that has a taste of horror, this was just hard to look and listen to. And it wasn't like one of those creepy lost episode videos. All of this I am seeing was made by Britt Allcroft and the team behind the TV show. The last scene showed the scrapyards as the theme song played on what sounds like a creepy music box, as it panned on every single rusty propped steam engine. It then showed Thomas's model. He was all rusty and lacked a face, let alone his smoke box. Large punctured holes in the model were seen on both his boiler and on his dome, with part of the running board and the whole funnel gone as well. It looked like someone ripped them off the model with ease. The shot faded out into darkness as the credits began to play. The credits were the same for the most part, and Thomas was shown to be alright, as if nothing happened. The credits that scrolled on the screen were entirely different. It read, "With all I have been through since the premiere of the movie back in 2000, I have reached my breaking point. Not only have I lost my job as the main creator of the show, I was put behind the scenes for smaller roles as new people began to work on it. I, along with most other people who helped to make this show, are not at all happy with this. And we decided to kill off this series as payback. I hate to do this as much as I like this show, but they had to ruin it. And neither of us had any choice but to play along. I apologize to anyone who likes the series, but somebody has to put an end to it before it's too late." Britt Allcroft. A final layer of text appeared on the screen one last time. "They made me like this," as it faded out. The video was now over. All I could do was collect my thoughts and try to process what I just saw. I wasn't horrified, nor was I tearing up. I was in disbelief. I know it's an episode I vividly remember, but this was obviously not at all what I remembered as a kid. I was still on YouTube and decided to reply to the guy about what I just saw. However, the page was refreshing the video. Before I knew it, I could no longer find the comment. It just vanished without a trace. Thankfully, I was still on the website and decided to put it on my bookmark. Then I opened the search bar and looked up the episode on YouTube. Then I clicked on a random episode, not caring about the quality of it, and watched it side by side. I have noticed so many differences compared to the so-called finale. However, I don't really feel like listing all of them, so here are some huge differences I spotted. Number 1. Sir Topham directed Thomas alone to transport the jet engine, a task to which Thomas consented, though surpassing Gordon wasn't his foremost concern. Number 2. During Thomas's journey to Brandon Docks, the stations he traversed and the junction to the branch line didn't appear in the final cut of the episode. Number 3. The jet engine appeared notably elongated compared to its depiction in the final version, displaying more details to it with the reduced length. Number 4. Duck was absent from the final version, including with the narrator's silence regarding him, meaning he would never have suggested taking the jet engine and making Gordon look as stupid as possible. Number 5. That ending was significantly different from the alternate ending. Instead of reaching Titmouth Station, the jet engine's fuel began to run out, which caused it to cool down, giving Thomas control and arriving at Knapford, where he apologized to Gordon with the other engines chuckling at Gordon's expense. I wish I could prove its existence other than the screenshots I provided in this video, but I don't want to upload the entire episode to YouTube myself and face the consequences against the new owners of Thomas and Friends. There is no other way for me to prove it. I find myself truly perplexed by whatever the hell this was. Now, fully aware of the show's real conclusion, each time I revisited an episode of Thomas and Friends, I couldn't shake the thought, that isn't the real Thomas the Tank Engine I know. He is stuck at the smelter's yard, dismantled, charred, layered all over with rust, never to see the light of day again. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because there are more chilling tales to be told. Also check out my other social media profiles. The links for those are down in the description. Thanks for listening.